Hello and welcome. I'm Master Lama Rasaji, and this is our Wednesday edition of Rasaji Speaks. Don't forget to tune in today at 1 and 7:30 for Sister Lynette and Sister Don at the gathering. Speaking of the gathering, you'll see these young gentlemen gathered behind me today. And my little sticker on here, don't forget to vote. It's less than a week away. Make sure you get it in. Wife and me voted last week and went in early, about 7:45, and by 8 o'clock, we were done. So go do it. It's easy to do. Today's lesson is ghost stories and the soul's lesson. Ooh. Exploring spirituality in the supernatural. Well, let's take a look at maybe some interesting things about that, right? Okay, let me see here. Let me see. I walked out on the edge of a granite, overwhelming looking, and northward at the scene below, stretching arms, my view, I was a large Appalachian valley of striking beauty, perhaps 6 or 7 miles long and 5 miles wide. Along the length of the valley of rain ran a winding stream and a course through stretches of open meadowland and thick, colorful forest, old forest with trees standing hundreds of feet high. I glanced down at a crude map in my hand. Everything in the valley coincide with the drawing exactly the steep ridge on which I was standing. The road letting down a description of a landscape and the stream, the rolling foothills beyond. This had been a place Charlene had sketched on the note found in her office, and that she had done that, but she had gone and she had disappeared. Over a month had passed now since I saw Charlene and had lost contact her with her associates at the research firm where she worked. And by the time Frank Sims, her office mate, had thought to call me, he had become clearly alarmed. What has happened to Charlene? She often goes off with her own entanglements, he said, but she's never disappeared for this long time before. Ooh. And never when she had a meeting already set with longtime clients such as you. Something here is just not right. How did you call me? I asked. He responded by describing part of the letter found in Charlene's office that I had written to her months ago earlier, chronicling my experience in Peru and Monte Picchu. With it, he had told me, was scribbled note, and that contained my name, telephone number. I'm calling everyone I know who's been associated with her so we can find her. Sorry, I told him. I haven't talked to her in over 4 months. Even as I said the words, I couldn't believe it had been that long. Soon, receiving my letter, Charlene had telephoned and left a long message on my answering machine, voicing her excitement about insights and commenting on the speed of which knowledge of them seemed to be spreading. I remember listening to Charlene's message several times, but I had put off calling her back, telling myself that I would eventually call her later. Maybe tomorrow or the next day. And after that, and little by little, time slipped away. I know at the time of speaking with her would put me in a position of having to explain in details the manuscripts. And I told myself I needed more time to think and digest what I had done. Some of you might guess what I'm reading from, but I'm reading from the first chapter of James Redfield's second book called The 10th Insight. I thought leading up to Halloween, that was appropriate for it's probably, in my opinion, one of 3 books that's best written what happens to an individual soul after they go pass on or translate and they go into the 59 days of Bardo, the reflection, the Ebenezer Scrooge and Christmas Carol flashback, like he experiences in the movie with the 3 angels, the angels of Christmas past, present, and future. There's 30 or 40 pages in that book dedicated to what people go through. And the psychologist Stub Kid regressed over 5,000 people that say exactly the same thing that Redfield is alluding to. Interesting, both of them have psychology backgrounds. Redfield was a child psychologist and professor at one of the universities in Alabama. Very interesting. I thought that's pertinent because how about reading about a ghost story that spiritually makes a lot of sense and goes on for at least 40 pages? If you haven't read the first book in many, many years, or especially since you've been here, my suggestion is because he's alluding to that book, because Charlene is a key person in the trilogy of his writings. You might want to do that. But the 10th Insight is very powerful. And if you look at what's going on with EMF frequencies and stuff, the insight that Redfield had, this is written in the late 90s, is definitely prophetic. There's no question about it. We're talking 25 to 30 years ago. There's no other way to call it but prophetic. Yes, he writes all of his books in a sequence as a fiction. But you scratch your head because he never reveals the identity of the main character, as if he's a ghost himself. It's very smart what he does because he wants you to be that character. His whole saga is like an Indiana Jones movie. Some real spiritual insights. In the very back of the very first book, The Celestine Prophecy, Redfield affirms what the Lamasery has been saying for hundreds of years. We're in the midst of a spiritual revolution. I wonder if these guys behind me over 300 years ago, closer to 4 now, I wonder if they knew that's happening. I think the portal of Shiva opened up the portal to the most incredible spiritual revolution. And our organization at Circle Achieve, we're going to be the spearhead of that revolution, right? Barak Bashad, may the blessings be to you and to your glorious family. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Don't forget to vote if you're an American. It's important. It's a right. It's a privilege. Don't abuse it. God bless you all, and we'll see you on the flip side. Take care.